guys, and welcome back to my channel. As you read by the title, today is going to be my aerial apparatus collection, also known as my torture devices, because let's face it, aerial is very painful. I have yet to find an aerial apparatus that is actually like comfortable. So I'm going to go in order of how I started them and talk you through the different apparatuses that I have and just sort of go through my collection so you can see what my recommendations are. I might not go through every single piece because especially for silks I have more silks, but there is a video where actually I compare my 3 different silks, so if you want to watch that I'll put it somewhere. I don't know, I'm still very new to this YouTube thing, so somewhere, I think it's one corner, but I don't know which one, there's going to be the option to watch that video where I compare those 3 silks in more detail. But yeah, today is going to be all my apparatuses, so everything from silks, hoops, straps, rope, hammock is all going to be in there. So let's go ahead and get started with the first one. So this is my silks, one of my silks. As I said, I have multiple ones. Silks is the apparatus that I started out with. So I started silks in 2020, which was a great time to start because Corona was raging, and I think I had my level 1 and then I had to take a break and not do silks for a very long time, and then I continued with level 2. But yeah, so this is my silks. Silks are basically one long piece of fabrics that is folded in 2, and then if you store them away, usually you put them in like this sort of chain knot thing, just so it takes up a little bit less space and it's just overall a little bit more clean. This one's name is Severus. I also name all of my apparatuses after Harry Potter characters because they are magical and I feel like that's fun. Silks is an apparatus that I would say is definitely one that you can start out with because there are certain apparatuses that maybe are not super beginner friendly. I would say silks is something that's okay for your first aerial apparatus. At the same time, aerial silks are also very difficult. So yes, you can start with silks, but also beware, it's going to be very hard. And I remember when I started, I was like, oh God, how am I ever going to get up there? But essentially, I really like silks because there's so much you can do with them. They were my first love. It's also the kind of apparatus that just looks magical. I mean, if you just swoosh the fabrics around, it just already looks so fabulous that you don't even yourself need to do that much. Like the silks are basically doing the work for you. This specific silk is from Prodigy, which is, I think, a great brand. You can get it from Fire Toys, which is a website that has a lot of circus equipment. And I really like these silks because they have not too much bounce. So that makes them quite beginner friendly. And also if you're doing more, I would say more slower things, more flowy things, less dynamic, then having low stretch silks is quite useful and nice to have. I really like playing around with just different shapes, different ways to tangle yourself up. But at the same time, as the years have progressed, I think silks is now no longer my favorite discipline, but it is still, it's always going to have such a special place in my heart. So yeah, here's a montage of me doing some silks just so you can see it in action. Okay, next up we have hoop. Now this one is the first hoop I ever got, so this is my original baby. I have named her Molly after Molly Weasley. This is a taped hollow hoop. Essentially it's a metal pipe and inside it is hollow, which makes it a little bit lighter compared to a solid hoop, and the tape is something that you can add to your hoops to create more grip and less slippiness. It still actually is the original tape, which surprises me, especially for starting out. In my opinion, this is the kindest hoop because it is, yeah, less brutal when it whacks you in the head than a solid hoop because I have made the experience with both solid and hollow hoops whacking me in the head. All of my hoops are untapped, so you can see for this one I have added a strap, but generally it is just one circle. But I have not just one hoop, I have actually another hoop. Okay, here is my second hoop. They are both, oh my god, hold on 1 second, let me just pull them up side by side. I hope you can see that. So this is Molly and this is Bellatrix. Bellatrix is a solid untaped hoop. She is wonderful for anything spinning. So generally speaking, because a solid hoop is a lot heavier, it just creates a stronger spin. And so I really like this one for spinning. And I like this one for more dynamic skills and also sometimes for learning skills because, as I said, it is a little bit more comfortable. It's a little thicker, which means it doesn't dig in as much, and then you have the additional grip, which sometimes if you're learning new things is quite nice, as opposed to having a more smooth surface. If I had to pick one at this point, I would probably pick solid, but if you had asked me 2 years ago, I definitely would have said hollow because at that point of my hoop journey, I was just more comfortable with hollow. I started hoop after silk, so it was my second apparatus that I ever started, and I still absolutely love it. I think hoop is one of the most beginner-friendly apparatuses because there are a lot of things that I think most people would be able to do quite easily. So some beginner poses that would then give you a lot of confidence and would create a lot of like, oh yes, I'm already doing it. Whereas other apparatuses I think can be very frustrating in the beginning. And hoop obviously can be super advanced too. But for hoop, there are a lot of moves that are very beginner friendly. So in that, I think hoop, if you're wanting to start out with aerial, hoop is one of, if not the best apparatus to start with, in my opinion. Then there's obviously a lot of other metal apparatuses that are hoop adjacent or like hoop. I have a tiny hoop, which is basically a smaller version of a regular hoop. This one is untaped and hollow, so it's sort of a mixture between the other two. And I have named this Hedwig. Now this one I really don't use all that much, just because honestly with having so many different apparatuses I don't have time to use all of them all of the time. But when I do, I really enjoy it because it is just fun to play around with. I would say this is not something that if you're thinking about buying your first apparatus, I probably wouldn't go for this, especially if you're starting out and you're taking classes, because there won't be a lot of tiny hoop classes. This is more something that if you want to buy it and you already have a big hoop, it's something fun to play around with. Also, I don't think I told you where all of the hoops are from, so I'm just quickly going to do that. This one is from Alexander Aerial Acrobatics. This one is from Apparatus Circus Lab, which makes wonderful equipment in general, so definitely check them out if you're looking for high quality equipment. And then this one is from Fire Toys. So Fire Toys, again, is a circus website that's quite easy to order from, but there definitely are also more higher quality or more specific equipment that you can order from places like Apparatus Circus Lab. They would be able to also customize a lot. So obviously this one was more expensive than that one, but it's definitely worth it. So those are my hoops, and here is a little montage of me using them. Okay, next up we have straps. Straps is the apparatus that I most enjoy watching and I most would want to be good at. It is a very simplistic apparatus. It's less complicated, there's less wrapping. I think for straps, the body of the performer is a lot more in focus than with silks, because silks, I feel like, for instance, is almost like so breathtaking, just the fabric, that you have this sort of combination of your having both the fabrics to look at and the performer. Straps, because they are obviously a lot thinner, that I think means that you have just a lot more focus on the person using the straps. I think the first time I had tried straps, I had done silks and hoop maybe for 2-ish years. Straps just requires a lot of strength. Even the basic moves that you do in straps are very advanced in a sense. And so I would definitely say do not start out with straps unless you are like a gymnast or have a lot of previous experience from other activities that would ensure that you are able to do the basic moves on straps, which are really already not basic moves. These straps are from Alexander Aerial Acrobatics, and he has wonderful straps. They're very comfortable because obviously straps also tend to be quite painful. My straps are called Lucius, so that goes to show that they are a little bit of, have a tendency to torture. But Alexander straps I find very comfortable overall. If you have done some other apparatus for maybe a couple of years and you feel comfortable and you want to try straps, I would highly recommend it because it is so fun. You also feel really good when you finally get something, but it does take a lot longer to progress and to learn new things. So here's a little video of me doing straps. Next up, and this is one of my recent purchases, we have rope. Now, rope is also one of those apparatuses that is, I would say, not great for beginners, but definitely great for people who have done silks for a couple of years or feel very comfortable, feel strong enough to do it. It is most close to silks. That's why I said silks, because obviously both silks and rope are vertical apparatuses that you would need to climb, so there's a lot of transfer between silk skills and rope skills. At the same time, obviously rope is just one rope and not the 2 strands of fabric, so it is more exhausting because there's less, I would say, resting positions where you can just fully hang or chill or be very secure in a wrap, and you would have a lot more positions that require you to be actively holding your own body weight. This rope I got from Tarson's Studio Lab, and it is absolutely wonderful. It's so comfortable. I would definitely recommend, if you want to start rope, to get covered rope. So you can see this rope has a smooth covering, which just makes it a lot more comfortable because it is already in itself a painful discipline. So having that extra cover and that layer is really nice to have. I've called this rope Luna and I really enjoy it. I've only had this for a couple of months, so I started rope very recently, and because I do so much, I don't really have time to work on it as much as I would want to, but it is definitely beautiful. It is similarly to straps, I think, a discipline where the performer's body is a lot more visible. I love watching rope as well. I think it is so, also again, more, in a way, more simple, but definitely not in the level of difficulty. Rope is something that you can do also a lot of dynamic skills, but definitely you can do also more slow skills. It's something that I really want to get more into in the future, because I just think it is fabulous and I really enjoy it. I also really enjoy actually that it is a lot more grippy than silks. So I think for winter you can use a rope, for instance, with socks. For silks, usually you would do it barefoot. So here's a little montage of my poor rope performance, because obviously, as I said, I'm very much a beginner. So, you know, this is the starting point of my rope journey. And the last apparatus I have is hammock. Now, hammock is also actually something that I only started doing recently because I took an online course where there was a lot of hammock involved in the curriculum. Basically, it was a course showing how to use your body efficiently with a hammock as the apparatus that was used to show all of the exercises. So that is why I decided to get a hammock, except I already had the fabrics, because you essentially can use the same fabrics as you do for silks for hammock. Just usually you would have shorter ones because hammock is rigged in a way that it wouldn't touch the floor. This is lavender because, you know, the color, I thought it was just too fitting not to name it that. And it is my old silk. So this was also, I think, the first actual silks that I got, because I used to have a very small rig for at home where I didn't have a lot of height. So I obviously also had a silk that was very short. I think the silk in total is 8 meters long. So folded in half, that will give you 4 meters. And actually, since trying hammock, I really like it. And I think it is probably, along with hoop, one of the most beginner-friendly apparatuses that you can start out with, because again, you have, similarly to hoop, just something that you can sit into. For hoop, obviously you have a metal circle, so it's quite easy to feel supported in that. And here it's a loop. So the fact that it's not open-ended just provides a lot more safety, security, and ease for learning the first skills. So I think actually it would make a lot of sense to start hammock and then move on to silks, because there's similarities. Obviously it's the same kind of fabric and you would get very used to gripping, but I think hammock is something that you would probably see success quicker than silks. I really enjoy the sort of freedom of expression that you get with hammock, because I feel like you can just really play around with it. It's also a great thing to have, even if you do different apparatuses. Having a hammock is still useful in that it can be used very well for conditioning. So that's actually, I think, the thing that I have used this hammock most for. So things like C-shaping, learning balances, all of that stuff is made a lot easier by having the support of that loop. So I think actually hammock is a really, really great apparatus to invest in. This silk is also from Prodigy, so it is same as my long silks. That's my hammock. And then I also have something very similar to a hammock, which is this loop thing. Now this one I actually got accidentally. I ordered a strap for a hoop, and this is what came. So because it is so thick, it is actually not very useful to rig around a hoop. It just doesn't make sense. It's not bendy, it's very rough, and you could not really easily grip both ropes, so it wouldn't really make sense to use it to rig a hoop, which is why essentially this one I also use like a hammock. But I really didn't want to get this. I was quite disappointed when it arrived and I saw that it was not very high quality. I don't even remember where I got it. I got it sort of spontaneously because I saw it and I was like, oh, it looks cool. And now I really regret it because, you know, I don't use it much. I don't like it much. It is the only apparatus that also doesn't have a name because I just couldn't be bothered. So if you want to name this, please do. But overall, I think that goes to say only buy from sellers that you know are high quality, because aerial equipment is very expensive, so you want to get something that is worth your money. And also I think that spending the extra amount it costs to get something higher quality is worth it. But here's a short montage of me doing hammock. So those are all of my aerial apparatuses. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you next week. Bye!